Hello, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to Flame Fatale, an all-women online speedrunning event presented by Flame Fatale and GDQ Hotfix. Hope you are all doing wonderful today. Very excited for all of the wonderful runs coming up this afternoon and evening. It's going to be another fantastic day. So we're happy to have you all here. And as we have been since the beginning of this event, we are talking with the members of Malala Fund, which we are benefiting. Malala Fund advocates for resources and policy changes needed to give all girls a secondary education. It invests in local education activists and amplifies the voices of girls fighting for change. So if you want to learn more about this, you can go to malala.org. That's just malala.org. So it's been amazing talking to you all so far this week. And I know I've had the pleasure of doing it before. But today we are joined by Anubhuti, who is the in-country representative for India. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Fu. So nice to be here.
Yes, yeah. Well, it's lovely to have you. I always forget to introduce myself. Hi, everyone. I'm kungfufruitcup. You know me. Anyway, so I wanted to ask you, Anubhuti, about how long have you been with Malala Fund?
Uh, it's this month. It will be 2 years. Two very exciting years of my working life, I must say. Yes, it's been a journey of 2 years. Very unusual time given the COVID situation, but it's still been fun working.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Like, what would you say? Um, what would you say makes up the identity of the in-country representative? Like, what does that mean? Like, what does that entail?
It's a fun profile, I must say. I mean, I work with these very seasoned advocates and champions for education in India at one end of the spectrum, and then with these young girls who we influence and reach out through our projects. And these young girls are extremely interesting. Their journeys are interesting. Their insights are just something else altogether. And when I look at them and the way they approach education, the way they think about what they want for their future, what their choices are, it's really amazing and interesting. And what I do is I support the programs that we have here in India. I sort of look at how effectively they are being done on the ground, whether we are able to give the kind of voice and agency that are our values, a part of our value system, to bring it to the girls here in India, where patriarchal norms can be very, very strong and can make life very oppressive for adolescent girls in some ways. Not to say that their lives are not fun, but it does weigh in the kind of choices they are allowed to make for themselves. So I support the work over here in India, and we have programs across these three big states called Bihar, Assam, and UP. UP is the biggest state in India, has the most out of school girls in India, and if sometimes you would come across data like this, which says that if the condition of girls were to improve in UP, how it would impact things globally, for instance. So there's an interesting range. Then we work in tea gardens of Assam. We also work in areas where children live inside forests or have a background of coming out of internally displaced families where they have spent a lot of time in camps while when their regular living situation was affected. So yeah, that's what I work towards in India.
Oh wow. Okay, so with the children who are coming out of being in camps and things, like what kind of programs are you able to offer them to help them like with their education?
So what we do is we help them. So many of these girls currently live in very poor communities where basic services like water, electricity, education is a big dream for them to have. And because their parents grew up in refugee communities, they lack that sense of agency and the cultural history of a community that uh, being in a community does for you in a normal circumstance. So these girls carry that kind of a background with them. And if what happens is they get either get married very early, or they get into some kind of domestic work as domestic helps in different households. Or
Mhm.
what they do is, sometimes they do get trafficked also. So they're very gullible in that sense. The families are also very gullible because they lack that kind of education and exposure to the outside world. So that's what happens to these girls. What we manage to do is to place them in interim sort of learning arrangements where they catch up to either learn to read and come to a grade appropriate educational level, or if they have dropped out of school, they catch up and then we are able to mainstream them in regular schools. So these learning centers are quite fun also. That's where children get a lot of opportunity to play. So our girls in Assam these days have been playing a lot of football, and that's amazing because team sports is something that is not thought about when it comes to girls.
Mhm.
So makes them, and it's not just about education, it's about building the confidence. And what a team sport can do for you is help you build that confidence, help make you visible, and when you go to a school you're confident enough to navigate the classroom then.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think offering like sports and I mean extracurricular activities are so important within education to begin with. So offering like opportunities for them in all different areas I think is really important and really beneficial to their lives. And so I love that you have an emphasis on fun as well as education and you can mix them together as well and I'm sure that you all do. So that's really fantastic because people who grow up with less than fortunate circumstances like we all need that like everybody needs that element of light and happiness and growth and education in their lives so this is fantastic work it's really heartwarming to see um so among all of like the programs and experiences you've had so far with reaching out to all of the women in India and the champions and all of that like would you say that there's any specific experiences that stick out in your mind that you'd like to talk about?
Um, I think it's about how remote some of the locations are where we work. Again, if I bring you back to Assam, there are locations where from here to state capital, we fly down to the state capital but from the state capital to where we work, it's a 5 hour journey by cab. And then once you get off the cab, then you have to be on foot for another 30-40 minutes. Then you cross over a river, then you climb up to go towards the village, again walk it down for 10 minutes, then take a take one of those e-vehicles that are there, small carts, and then that brings you to the village. And these are villages on sandbanks. These are villages that are very affected by climate change and the erosion that the river goes through every year. So they get flooded every year. So you don't know if tomorrow, if I go back to that village, I don't know whether it exists or not because it gets eroded and then it appears again. So, and there are so many language groups in one particular village. So there is Santhali spoken, there is Assamese spoken, there are some people who talk in Bengali, there are some who understand Urdu and Hindi. So it's just a huge gamut of challenges that our champions and field workers go through to actually reach the village and then to navigate through the differences in languages, for instance. That really is amazing. I mean, for people to work through this is really amazing. And then you meet the girls. And I recollect the story of this girl called Bandana. She's from UP. Um, and it takes her, she walks 8 kilometers to school one way. And then she comes back 8 kilometers. And then she does household chores and then she studies. And then she works as a laborer in the farms later over the weekend so that she can fund her education. So, and even in spite of all of that, she was so determined. She just finished her secondary school examination last year, and she still wants to continue studying. And this is the kind of passion that makes you feel so alive. I might sit at my desk most of the days, but if I meet a girl like that every month or so, I feel what I do in terms of my work is just so completely worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just so wild, I guess, living where I do, to imagine like how much travel there is just to get out of your village, or like living in a town that is under that constant like pressure or threat of like eroding. It's just wild to hear about, and amazing to hear that there are women, girls, of any age, just working so hard and still being so passionate about their education. It's amazing. So again, providing the aid to these women who want to have this in their lives and like do more and be more. I think it's incredible. Wow. So, I mean, thank you so much for your work. This is wonderful to hear. And before I let you go, I like to ask just to see, do you play any games yourself?
I don't, but the last game that I used to play offline online was Scrabble, and I love playing Scrabble. I love reading, and I love what playing with others is about. And when you don't have company all the time, you don't have to step out. You can play online.
Yeah.
My nieces and my nephews play a lot of games online, and they've always been trying to recruit me into playing with them. And I haven't had, I honestly haven't had the time to do that. But it means a lot to them. They spend a lot of time over it. They're so passionate about it. They're so excited about it. They have their game boxes. I think they're Xboxes or something they're called. I'm not very sure. I'm very not into technology. But I love the fact that they are concentrating in that space and they are learning to follow instructions. They're playing with other people online. Um, I love the fact that I can talk to them about keeping themselves safe online while playing and interacting with other people. And while I might not know and navigate and know how to navigate the space, but I do tell them that, be careful about maintaining what your identity is, your location is. If you feel unsafe, you come straight to an adult. So those are things that we discuss. And games give me an opportunity to talk to them about that because they love it so much.
Yeah.
And I have learned that from interacting with them that games count as gift, books don't. So that's another thing.
For sure. I mean, gaming can be both like it's both a social aspect and an educational aspect. There's some really amazing things that you can get out of gaming. So yeah, that's something that I've always been interested in, and I feel like it's taught me a lot. So I'm glad that you have the chance to be able to bond with your with your niece and nephew that way, and have that experience. I think that's great. And Scrabble is super fun. So I understand that too. Well, thank you so much again, Anubhuti, for speaking with me today. It's been a pleasure. And next up, we have all of the wonderful runs happening today for the rest of this Flame Fatale day for you all. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. And we will be handing it off to the hosts to get the runs going. Thank you so much.